Good evening. Welcome to our work session here, January 20th. And we are going to start as we usually do with board and commission interviews. Our first interview, actually our only interview for tonight, is with John Visor, who is here to apply for the opening of the Green Space Advisory Commission. So John, if you want to you can sit if you'd like, you could stand. Just give us a little bit about why you want to be on the commission and what you think you might bring to it.
Hey, yeah, I'm John Visor. I moved to Webster. Hey, what's up? That's why I taught my child.
It's a small town.
Great start. And I moved to Webster about 9 years ago, and I'm right over on Iowa by Larson Park. And in that 9 years, a developer has bought 6, 7 pieces of property and cut down a whole bunch of old growth trees. And there is nothing I can do about that except to join a committee that helps plant trees. And I'm very passionate about the environment. My dad worked in wildlife education conservation, learned about the environment in Boy Scouts. That was a whole part. For work, I'm a special educator and have been for 25 years. And so talking to people, teaching people about things is not unfamiliar to me. And I just want to see, I moved to Webster Grove because groves implies trees. My trees are being removed. I would like to plant more. This is pretty effective.
I like the math you got going. Any questions for John?
Did you get a tree 1 year for?
I did.
Greeners?
Yeah, we tried 1 year and it didn't work because yeah, you remember, yeah. And then they got through it because that same developer came and ripped up a bunch of concrete, but we got a tree in the deal, so that works out.
That's great.
Nice. Yeah, and that is one of the Green Space Advisory Commissions.
Yeah.
All right, well, I said it would be painless and pretty simple, so there doesn't seem any other questions, so thank you. You will hear from our city clerk here shortly, and she'll give you some instructions.
So, thanks, y'all.
All right,
Thank you so much.
Just a note about the Old Orchard Special Business District Advisory Commission. We've been working for a while to get Webster University to recommend someone for us. They did do that just before the last Old Orchard Special Advisory District Commission meeting. So I reached beyond my authority. I'll be honest with that, and said, go ahead and let him go because we know that we needed this person to make a quorum. So in an effort to expedite getting that quorum, Ryan Elliott, who is the Webster University appointee, if we could, I'd like to confirm him tonight. You all can slap my hand later if you need to.
Just live it.
Most welcome. Great to have him.
Yeah.
We did make quorum.
Good.
That day. So,
We
but
still-
during the budget season.
Yeah, doing some business.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we are now to reviewing the regular agenda. Is there anything anyone wants to review on the regular agenda? All right. Meeting updates and issues. For everyone here, I'm going to start in reverse order today. Katie? Scott, you're at the table, so I have to ask you.
I'm done.
City manager.
You could have given the culvert.
I was giving you all the good stuff.
Glory. Got some culvert issues, so hopefully everybody has seen that. We, thanks to Jordan, have been communicating it out widely. So to backtrack, because of a MoDOT bridge inspection, we have proactively closed a lane at the North Elm. North Elm and Kirkham, sorry, I had to look at it, the right-hand lane. We've got barricades up, putting out lots of messaging. We'll have some alternative route suggestions up tomorrow. We are really trying to be proactive in communication. I know I've said that a couple times, but we have learned a lot from KBC and all of the, whether it was complaints, tips, inquiries we got from that went to council, went to various staff, went to TAC. And when that happens, sometimes people get responses that aren't the same because they're contacting different staff, or they get multiple responses, that sort of thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up one email address. It will be socialized widely. So we're hoping, and please help us direct people to that. It'll be monitored several times a day so we can make sure that people are getting consistent and timely responses.
A couple of notes on that. I don't know if it's on purpose, but the sign, at least late this afternoon, said street closed rather than lane
Lane
closed. And when you drive down there, the flashing arrow was not illuminated.
Thank you.
And it may just need enough sun to get it going or something, I don't know.
Were there any other things found? Like, did MoDOT inspect other areas of the city too? And was anything else highlighted?
It was a citywide inspection.
Yes and no. They did a full inspection of every bridge, culvert, overpass. And that was the only recommendation they had, of course.
And the timeline, is this will stay closed until we replace the culvert? And I know that schedule is in the updates, but that's like later in 26,
This spring and summer.
spring and summer.
It's just a few months early. The good news is it's being monitored and we're able to proactively address it. So we appreciated MoDOT's recommendation and their communication with us.
So there's no safety risk and we're not gonna throw good money before we're gonna do the major renovation.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yes,
Nothing to report.
okay.
Nothing from you, Madam Mayor.
Roll on, baby.
Yeah, last week, both sustainability and Old Orchard Business District Advisory Commission met. They're both working diligently on their annual reports and budgets. As Mayor said, we did have a meeting with Old Orchard, which is only occurring quarterly at this point. And just wanted to give a shout out to Fran, who did a great job of organizing a multitude of papers for the budget to help the commission prepare. She brought out our letter from last spring. And so it was very organized meeting at that. And then I also just wanted to give a shout out to the Parks and Rec for their decorations of Old Orchard. Apparently Fran got a call from another municipality and asked what company had done that decorations at Old Orchard. So that was kind of good to hear. She said, well, it was us. We did that.
Do we
So
hire out?
that was good. Yeah, that was exciting. And then
Sources of revenue.
I'm sorry.
She said, do we hire out? And I said, we're looking for sources of revenue.
Yes. And then just finally, they are gonna meet again next month to finalize it. That's all it.
The BDC met a couple days after our last meeting. It was a packed meeting. Lots of good content, lots of good discussion. One item I would like to note is the anecdotally right now, the fourth quarter for our businesses, they felt like there were people coming in from outside of Webster. They feel that that's a direct result of the work that Jordan has done and Dr. Peoples has supported in getting having a presence in other publications and a more online presence. It was so they're right now anecdotally, you know, it seems really positive. I think that it was a stacked meeting. So there's some dates coming up for some coffees and a happy hour, and I don't have those in front of me right now, so I'll make sure I report those out
I do.
next time. Oh, thank you. Yes.
Just because we have the next thing before our next meeting, it's the Chamber and BDC Happy Hour on January 29th.
Thank you.
And Cyrano.
Cyrano's from 5 to 7.
Appreciate that. Thanks for the save. And then the other day, Sunday maybe, I attended the Martin Luther King Jr. celebration that Dave organized. It was lovely. It was really lovely. It was a great community event. Dave, thank you for that. Some art, some togetherness. They read the I Have a Dream speech that Dr. King gave, and I was happy to be a part of that.
Neither Green Space nor Plan Commission met. I know Green Space is working hard on their budget from the various subcommittees. They have a tour of the service center planned for the commission next Friday, which I think will be really great to kind of give, some context and like put places with names. So that'll be Good. And then Arbor Day is April 15th. It's tax day at Larson Park.
We had HPC meeting, and I have more so an observation and a concern because the topic of the front entry garages came up and we were having a discussion, and one of our staff members gave assurances to the commission that nothing was changing and we were gonna, their concerns will be addressed. Everything's okay. They're giving the plan to planning commission on whatever day they gave. And that really bothered me because the staff does not have the authority to give assurances, especially of things that council has not yet finalized. We have not yet finalized whatever revisions, changes, recommendations are going to be submitted. Haven't finalized that to the planning commission. So we need to be careful about conversations and comments and statements that are made to the commissions on behalf of the city, and especially when council has not finalized things that are going to be put forward.
Thank you, Councilwoman Alexander. And we've talked about that as a staff. So your concern is absolutely noted, and lots of new staff, and we'll get better as we go along, but greatly appreciate that. And if I may, it would be a great opportunity for council liaisons to remind boards and commissions gently that they're advisory, because it is really difficult. There's a lot of topics on the table right now that some of the boards and commissions feel extremely strongly about, and then question, well, why wasn't our recommendation followed? And so it's just helpful to remind them there is a long process and there's several steps, and then ultimately council does indeed make the decision. Thank you.
All right, thank you, both of you. I have just a couple of things. Metro mayors met here. You were very lovely, loved Madrina, and I think most of the mayors are coming back to town for dinner sometime. The talk about video gaming, which doesn't necessarily impact us a lot, but throughout the state, there are a lot of convenience stores, gas stations that have these video slot machines, which are not regulated by the state of Missouri. And so there is some legislation that is being put forth in this session, which sort of suggests to me if this legislation passes, we are going to have to take some action. So it's just something to keep an eye on, because we're going to either have to opt in or opt out of the possibility of this under the legislation if we want any say.
Is it to tighten or loosen?
It's to regulate it and actually provide revenue sources for states. Right now, most of them don't have to be licensed. They don't pay any sort of taxes. And so it's actually a different gaming company who has worked with other states before to do it under a regulatory structure. And they're the ones who came and spoke. So, bad news I have is that this year's low-income development tax credit list did not include Peace Place. They focused almost all their resources on North City in response to the tornado. So you can't argue with that. I did meet with Wendy Bruner, who says they have another alternative plan that they're going to work on. So the good news is they're not giving up at this point. So I did offer our help and assurances that anything that we could do, we would. So she said she'd get back to me about that. And then the last thing I have in terms of updates in front of you, I was not able to attend the TAC meeting, but TAC would like to provide a letter of support for a statewide active transportation plan to be enacted at the state level. And they provided a draft that they would like for me to sign along with representatives of SS4A, the police department, the Sustainability Commission, and the Traffic Advisory Commission. So I think, Scott, I don't know if I gave you one. Would you like one? I would just, if any, and rather, since I just sprung this on you, how about if any of you have objections to me signing on behalf of council, will you let me know, say, by today's Tuesday, by Friday? You do that? All right, thank you. And by the way, I don't know who on staff is seeing this, so that staff, if there's any objections as well, please let me know. All right, let's get to our topics. Our first topic is the service center expansion and renovation project.
Right. So tonight we're gonna look at the service center plan, modernizing infrastructure to support customer service and city growth. Public Works and Parks and Rec and admin has been looking at this for quite a while now, with input from some of the other departments as well. So kind of the background, service center was originally built back in the 60s. It's had several rounds of additions over many years. It's the primary hub for both Public Works and our park operations, housing admin staff, equipment storage, material storage, the salt dome, fleet, gas pumps, things like that. A few years back, Public Works admin staff moved from City Hall, where the current planning department is located, down to the Public Works Service Center. And that facility currently houses 15 Public Works staff and 10 park operations staff, in a building that only has 7 original offices. So we've actually converted some storage closets to offices. We have some people out in outbuildings and such. And the little text at the bottom just shows who's in what offices. So probably the worst one is one of the park ops offices has 2 supervisors, 5 full-time, and then 1 to 4 part-time. Now, those are field staff, so most of those folks are out in the field most of the time, but it's still a large share for one office. So what are the core needs that we're looking at in this building? The biggest thing is customer service. Right now, there's no way for the public, vendors, anybody to get into the service center. All the access doors are on the back side of the building. Inside are gates. And so that's kind of a safety issue to having people walk back in there. So we need a front side entrance that people can come up, see the admin coordinator, get permits, drop off small deliveries from Amazon, things of that nature, or just coordinate with staff. It'd also be great to have another meeting room space in the city. City Hall has 3 small conference rooms. This is the largest one and 2 others. And then we have the council chambers across the hall. The rec center has meeting rooms, but they are used for a lot of the classes and fitness classes and programs. So they're not as available on an open basis for boards and commissions, regional workshops, PD and fire testing, things of that nature. It'd be great to have another room for that. With that would obviously come parking. The office space, we talked about that a little bit for staff members. We're not trying to add offices so we can add more people, obviously, but occasionally we have interns come in, or we had a couple of fellows last year, and trying to house folks like that and desks is problematic because we're pretty full up here in City Hall. The current service center also has no little small conference room to go meet with a staff member one-on-one. If you need to talk to a staff member or to do anything kind of in private, most of those offices are all shared spaces and there's just nowhere to go. It'd be great to have something like that. And then finally, enclosed park ops bays where they could get some fleet out of the weather, could store plant materials over the winter, not really a full greenhouse or anything like that, but somewhere where we could overwinter some of those plants. We don't have to buy as many new ones every year. Or oftentimes, even when they get delivered in April, it seems like the week they get them delivered, then we have a cold snap and it's 30 degrees and we're struggling to keep those things warm. Do 2 screens here. So the concept plan, I'll show you a bunch of different pictures, but this is what it may look like from the outside. This is the current space, so it's pretty much one tree here that we would like to lose. Maybe lose this tree here. Other than that, it's mostly green space. So the front of the brick building here would be this pop out that's colored right here. You walk down a sidewalk. Pop another screen here. All this white is the current building. This gray would be the addition, and then new parking spaces here. So this is kind of what the layout of the room would look like, and I'll show you.
Wait, Scott, oh, it's fine if you have it on that one too. To the left of what would be the addition.
Here.
Yes, what is that?
That is a Parks Bay right now. There's some storage area right about here, and there are 2 garage bay doors that come in right there where they can do some of their maintenance stuff.
Thank you.
So this kind of tells exactly what we'd be looking at. Again, you'd walk in from the parking lot over in this region, come down the sidewalk, you'd come into an atrium lobby where our admin coordinator would sit through a window right here. You'd interact with him. To get into the facility, then you would badge in through this door, likely badge through this one as well, to get into the building proper. Currently, this room would be Yvonne Steingruby's Park Superintendent's office. So she would need to relocate to one of the other offices, or possibly one of these new supervisor level offices down here. You'd enter this space to be new. This is Sanan, Public Works Director's office here. It would be a new little mini conference room, so we could sit 4 or 5 people and have a conversation. Would also be restroom off of the meeting room space. This is the women's restroom locker room right now. So having that restroom next door here allows us to tie into all of the plumbing, sewer, and whatnot. Room for about 8 hot desk or hotel desk or whatever the new term for the day is. Be a spot where we could have a few of them may have computers always on them that staff could go sit at. We have 3 or 4 computers located throughout the service center that field staff that don't have desks can go sit down to check email, to put in vacation requests, things of that. So it'd be nice to have a couple actual stations. Right now there's a table set up in the lunchroom that has 2 computers on it. So a little place would be a little bit quieter, more conducive for them if they needed to do training, know before trainings and things like that. And then the conference center, conference room, you enter off the atrium lobby. I've got a couple different layouts of this too. Be somewhere in the neighborhood of about 80 to 100 or so people that could get into that facility. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,200 to 1,300 square feet. And I'm just going to tell you what the council chambers next door is. And then I have it on the other slide. I'll get there in a minute. So you can see what the comparison would be there. Any questions on what the layout that we're kind of looking for is or needs of them?
Yes.
Hit me.
Okay. I've been in there. It is the existing offices right now have windows to them. So what's going to happen natural light wise for those offices once there's an entire addition put on the front of that?
So 1, 2, 3, 4 have windows. Those will be lost, but the whole front of that building will have windows. So this is the meeting rooms will have windows. Those 3 new offices will be over here. They'll have windows, and then the atrium into the admin coordinators area will all be. So this whole area will all be windows. So there'll still be some natural light coming into some of those office spaces.
But those particular ones will lose their natural light.
Correct.
Is there ever, and I know this adds costs, and I'm just asking the question, like considerations for like solar tubes or something in the roof? Because I don't see also that there's panels, solar panels going on the top of that.
So we do have a couple solar tubes at the rec center and some new offices we put in down there.
Mhm.
Sometimes those are really nice. Sometimes they become a bit of a leaking hazard down the way. Uh, my parents had one in their bathroom and it was terrible. But the ones at the rec center have been great.
Yeah, I have
they
one
do
too.
actually bring in good natural light.
So we haven't got that far into
Okay.
design
I
yet.
just want to
It's
keep,
possible. You
yeah,
can also do like windows high up on the conference room wall to let the light come in. Yep. That's
yeah,
true.
that's a good idea too, Emily. It's when you're working in a box
Mhm.
all day long, that's not really great for mental health.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So because we need more conference room, like you're saying, we're limited here, we're limited at those. So that's what those 2 rooms there for.
And it could
It
be
would
one
be-
large room
It
too.
would be
Yeah.
one large room, that could be
Or divided.
subdivided if you needed to, like you do over at the pull the string.
Yes, ma'am.
And then, so the hotel cubes will only be for the people ideally that are generally more transient. They're working in the field or they coming in and they need someplace to sit and catch up and what have you. But the ones that are more so administrative and they're in the office, they will still have their own workspace or what?
Yes. So right now, this plan loses 2 offices. We lose the director and we lose the superintendent. So we have to rehouse them somewhere.
And that can go back over in the existing area.
That may go back in the existing, and some of those existing folks might come down into here. We haven't laid all that out yet. But yes, these 2 crosses here will basically just be hot desks for anybody. If I wanted to go down there and work down there for a day, or we had a power outage or a room was getting painted, staff from here or anywhere else could go down there and work at one of those hot desks for the day too.
Okay, and the reason I ask, and it's something if we could keep front of mind, is that, one of the things that a lot of the corporations have gone to, and they're starting to kind of transition back away from it, was this whole idea of the hotel environment, and you come in and everybody can collaborate and you just come in and plug in where something's available, and it's not working. And for especially when you think in terms of how much time of our lives that people spend out of a day in an office to not be able to go to work and have a designated place where you can keep your coffee mugs and your things. It's really been increasingly bad for morale.
Yeah.
So just saying, if we're going to do the hotel cube thing, I would hope we would keep in mind that that's for not designed for the people that are actually admin and in the office, and that's their life away from home.
Yes, I would agree. The desk staff would still have actual offices. That they'd be in one of these or up in
Or
one of those current
workspaces,
offices.
actual designated workspaces.
Yes, ma'am.
That's their space.
We have so many shared offices that any improvement it's going to be appreciated, but thank you. With the conference rooms, I just add on to what Scott shared. For those of you that are in City Hall quite a bit, and as Scott said, Gordon Room is our largest conference room. We've got a couple of other smaller ones. It is hard to book. If we've got interviews going on all day, then Gordon's not available. And we also don't have conducive space to do a lot of daily operation functions. Even, it's budget time. Gregory's getting ready to do New World training with a bunch of staff. It's hard to get them in one place to set up laptops and to do that. So it brings a lot of flexibility to have a larger space. And probably the most important one is anytime we have all staff meetings, we have to do it during warmer months so it can be outside unless we rent the space. So we don't have a place where we can get together with all of our staff, have trainings, or even whole departments. So there's a lot of functionality that could be with larger conference room space, as well as council meetings. I think everybody probably remembers the time we tried to do, was it the TIF interviews? And we went to Parks and Rec.
Crab.
Maybe it's the crab, but you're right. Yes. But it's hard. We don't have the technology in there. It's hard to move that. I mean, it was a ton of work for IT staff. So having another large conference room where council for some reason wanted to have a meeting off-site, invite people, have more space, it gives those options as well.
So I do have some, Scott, you want to go
I
ahead?
was just going to tag team on that. When we were doing KBC, we also did a satellite setup down in the fire engine bay downstairs. So this could be overflow for something like that too, where we'd still have a microphone. People could walk up and present. We ended up not needing it that evening, but had we had an extra 100 people show up,
we could direct people to come to this room too.
Is it,
Yeah, but it is like, you gotta drive to it. You know, it's not like the fire bay where they're just like going downstairs, like.
But if we pre-publicize that, then
Yeah.
people in that neighborhood could walk there.
Yeah.
Instead of driving over here.
so is this room rentable?
Could be.
Okay,
Yeah, we obviously haven't gotten that far yet, but we've certainly discussed that as we're setting this up, that it could be a space that could have rentals, it'll have restrooms. Let me bounce to the next picture because since we're talking about meeting rooms, we have a couple options that add a second restroom into instead of just the one, which increases the size a little bit, which would be better if you were going to do some sort of rentals. If you're going to put 100 people in there, having a single restroom is not going to probably work out
We
very
wouldn't
well.
let people do that. Would we, under our code?
Probably not. No.
Yes.
Yes.
Also, the sink and the catering area would be important. For
Yes.
a big,
I did have another question. It looks like the only way to get from the front atrium to the back in the existing building is through that yellow corridor in the copy room. Is that
Correct.
true?
Correct. You come in here and you pass through this yellow corridor to get into the current building.
But Scott, for workers, there's the corner door back in the yard too, where they go in now.
Yes.
Okay, I
If
just-
that's the,
Staff will still enter. Most of the public works staff enters right through here, and most of the park staff enter, actually in this corner, right over here, because park staff park on this parking lot, public works staff typically parks
Gotcha.
over in this parking lot. So they would still probably walk through the yard to gain entrance. This will just be your public facing entrance.
Yeah.
and then to get from the way that the conference room is divided now, to get from the left to the right, would we have a way, like if you wanted to rent out both paths, how would you do the one on the right?
I envision that this won't be closed off that often, but if it is, then there'll likely be a man door in this divider, just like there is at the rec center. If we pull that one across, it's actually got 2 doors in that divider that you can go in and out of.
So my main question, I don't know if it's for here or for later, is that we've talked about this before and it feels like the scope has gotten a lot larger. And I was wondering if you could compare what we've talked about and funded before and what's being presented tonight.
Can we wait till we get to the pricing page?
Yes.
And I'd be happy to answer that question.
But like on money, but also on like.
Yep. How big size? Yes.
Yeah, and
Well-
I'm sorry.
Go.
One more question.
Yes.
I know right now solar panels, the environment is just not friendly for them to make it make sense for municipalities at this current moment. But this moment won't last forever. And so is there a way that we can just make that solar ready? Just,
Yes, again, we haven't got into the full design phase of it yet.
Thank you.
We're just in concept plan right now.
Mhm.
There's solar panels on the main building right
Mhm.
now. And there's a lot of HVAC that's sitting right here. So we do have to configure that right, because we'll need some more HVAC over the top of this building too.
Okay.
But there may be ways to get panels
Okay.
on there.
if it's feasible,
Yep.
yeah.
So I guess back to your, the yellow is kind of what we've done previously. When we looked at this over the last 2 years, we'd originally just looked at a customer service entry into the building window there. So basically this yellow area is kind of what we're looking at set back here. So you're right that there has been some broadening of this with the meeting rooms and additional office spaces.
About like maybe a little conference room and maybe like an office or two.
Yeah,
But it was.
$500,000 for an atrium, I feel like.
I think it has progressed a couple steps. So
Yeah.
originally it was just
Okay.
an atrium window, and then there was a small room next to it. And
Yeah.
now it's the further we've gotten into this, we've realized that we may have an opportunity now to do it all at once and not come back and put another addition on this again in X years.
The opportunity just being because we were planning to do the atrium in June.
And it will just be more expensive later. And it really is our only place that we have where we can add on in terms of conference room and staff offices. There's just not a footprint here within, City Hall to do so.
And our first stop was because we realized that this really needed to be bigger and it was gonna cost more, which is why we stopped initially, right? I
Yes, we
recall that.
did have that discussion and to come back and explore more.
Mhm.
With the meeting rooms, and if council ever wanted to have a meeting there, going with Councilman Hickson Shepherd's comment, it would be ADA accessible. And we struggle with that now in our current council chambers. So I think that's important to consider as well.
So there's no way to make an entrance from in that second room from the exterior? Then you would have to go through the first one to get to the second room?
There is an entrance here. You can see this door right here. So there is an entrance that goes off to the. I'm gonna bounce back. This door would be an entrance to that meeting room, and then there'd be one into the front.
Okay.
If you're having a 2-room breakout session for a conference or something like that, I'm not sure people would want to walk outside to come in that other door. But again, you could have a doorway inside that actual divider, just like the rec center
I
has.
was just thinking in terms of if there were meetings, if there were meetings going on in both areas with different entities, having to walk through one to get to the other.
Yeah.
Here you've got, this is option D. What's the difference on this floor plan for
Which page?
ABC?
This
I'm
one
on
or the one
page 8, 6?
6?
I can't. Yeah, 6.
Yeah.
What were the other options? Just curious.
We've gone through a whole bunch, but some of them are on this next page. They're just different layouts of this conference room, different sizes.
So they all had that basic footprint. It was just ways the spaces was organized.
The space gets a little bit bigger and smaller. This one's 1,230 square foot. That's 1,265. This one's back to 1,230. So it's different. It depends on where the restroom is at. If it has 1 or 2 restrooms.
So all the
footprints are basically the same. It's just how we're laying them
and
out.
the functions are basically the same.
Correct. So I actually overlaid this. That's why it doesn't look quite as graphically nice as this guy does. But I wanted to show one that had theater style seating with a head table like you would have for a council meeting or possibly a wedding reception or something like that. For something like this, you'd get about 100 guests plus your 10 folks at the head table. And this is 1,230 square feet. I told you what council chambers was. Council chambers is 1,364 square feet. So about 100 square foot less here than in the council chambers. But a lot of the space in the council chambers is actually up on top of the dais. So you actually have more floor space in these layouts than you have over there right now. Any other questions on layouts? The park bay enclosures. This is the current Google aerial overhead of the open. It looks better than that. For some reason, when you do it 3D, it makes it look a little creepy. Yeah, it does. It looks a little creepy. So we'd like to enclose these similar to the backside of the building where the Public Works actual mechanics bays are enclosed with these similar doors. We've been looking at this since about 2018 in Parks and Rec to do this, to give staff some more spaces to work out of the cold. Particularly, it would be a heated space. It would not be an air conditioned space, but we do better in the wintertime, overwintering, things in that nature.
Scott, when you get to cost, will you be able to break that down? How much the bay enclosure would cost versus, and then
Yes,
how
sir.
much the other stuff would cost?
Great segue.
Great segue. So this is the cost opinion. So that bay enclosure is about $180,000 for the parks operations bay. The rest of the building addition with the conference rooms, the guest services atrium, and the office spaces comes in at about 1.1 million, a little over 1.1 million. That does include, our contingencies and all that stuff. The actual subtotal for the construction cost itself is just under $1 million. But we add on all those additional contingencies and such.
Can you tell me what the note means? I don't understand all of those words.
Yes. So on the these are called clustery windows. It's a one strip window. If we went in with they call them punched windows. So a window like that right behind you, we could get us, if we only put in like say 4 or 6 of those regular size windows, you'd get a savings of about $30,000 on that park enclosure.
And do those windows just go into the bay? Like there's no second story there, right?
No second story. It's
those are
just,
still-
yeah, it's a double height bay.
So you would get some natural light
You
through
get
those
natural
if the
light.
doors were closed.
And a couple of them, even on the strip windows, a couple of them would open to be able to vent some of that hot air out in the summertime.
In addition to the construction costs, do we have other design costs?
I've included that in the total. So the total ask or staff recommendation would be to allocate 1.5 million over the top of that, the 1.1 and the 180,000. So you're about 1.25 as the actual cost. I'm asking for or recommending 1.5 million, which would get us all of our design fees. They're sure to be MSD or other utility or fees that will be needed when we go into this. It's hasn't been realized yet because its full scope and design hasn't been done. So those fees would be included in that. So we currently have 495,000. I don't know why I keep clicking on things. Sorry, I'm just going to stop touching. Currently have 495,000 in our this year's CIP. We have another 550,000 in the CIP plan that has been approved and has not been allocated, or had been allocated. They were for the bucket truck and some police vehicles and things like that we did emergency purchase on and right at the end of last fiscal year to beat the tariffs that were potentially coming. That money still stayed in the budget because we didn't pull it out. It was such a late time. So that money is there. We've got about $250,000 in the special initiatives fund that hasn't been allocated this year. So if we did all of those things and used all those towards this project, then we'd only be seeking about 200,000 in new unallocated budgeted funding, which would come out of the reserve balance.
Special initiatives is meant for certain topic, right? Can we pull that aside for climate?
It has been pulled aside and not revisited for well over a year, so we put it on the table for discussion.
But I think we need to call out that this would be revisiting that purpose.
And I believe there's 300,000 in there and about 50,000 that has been allocated, but the other 250 has not.
I'm nervous about the reserves part too. We're talking about a lot of reserves things from a lot of different areas. It would be really helpful to have a comprehensive look at what staff want to, think we need to use the reserves for, and kind of like we did for Prop W, we can rank those, and this could be on there. We can get some public input on that as well. I know it's not that huge. It's just one of kind of a growing list of things.
Yeah, and I know I said this over the summer. I know I said it during the budget. I don't like the creep into the reserves because it's not strategic and it's hard to figure out the return on investment. What is the impact to? So I agree that some sort of greater planning, especially if we're going to have to do the parking garage as well. And the good news is that we have the reserves money there. I just would like a little bit more holistic approach in thinking about that reserves. Sorry, you were going to say something else.
No, I mean, I agree. It's also hard to swallow doing a big project when we just talked about going out for more revenue because we are having other issues and are structurally in the budget. I'm not sure if it is the right time. I think that's a good question to ask.
I think all of this conversation is really important, and it's a conversation we wanted to have. Unfortunately, I agree the timing is not ideal, but it's important to remember that this was always coming back to council. Unfortunately, it's just on the heels of asking about new revenue and that.
And it's $1 million more from what we previously.
Well, it is, but if we delay
it's
as well, it's going to be even more, and that's what we're facing. The commentary on having full reserve and our staff recommendations, absolutely. We're already working on it as part of budget presentations. Unfortunately, it doesn't line up with this, but absolutely, we will have staff recommendations on all of those things.
And I think it's important to have these conversations because when we have the conversations about taxes and we don't want to raise taxes and we don't want to do this, but we got to keep having these conversations and informing our residents that we have a long list of things that we don't want to do to generate revenues. I'll go back again to the box stores. I'll go back again to the chains. I'll go back to all of the list of things we don't want to do to raise revenue, but including we don't want to raise taxes. But this is an example of something else that needs to be done for the city to run more efficiently, to continue providing the services that we all want to see. So my little soapbox there.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. Just so I'm clear, the 550,000 SIP money from FY26 for other projects. So that's not taking any project that we have on the table and saying, oh, no, we're not going to do that. That's just simply a reflection of beating the tariffs.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure I was clear on that. The second thing is, we had talked at some point, and I thought that we had left it up to a future regional parks grant to do an addition to the space of the rec center. Is that still, because that would make the biggest of all of the potential spaces. Is that still part of our planning or thoughts?
It has not been recent. So we were actually awarded a grant for an addition to the rec center to put on dedicated fitness and cardio spaces that could allow then those meeting rooms to be used for more meeting space and not have programs in it. We got that award right around when COVID hit,
Right.
and the class participation really tanked off. And at that point, we didn't think it was good timing to accept that grant. And I don't remember what the city match on it. It was a couple $100,000 in city match that was going towards it. Didn't make sense at that time to spend $750,000 to do that with the volume of classes and things that we were having at that time. We haven't really gone back and looked at that again since. We've been putting muni park grants towards combining them with Prop W projects. It's kind of what we got planned out for the next 5-ish years. So to revisit that would be plus 5 years down the road, probably.
Well, the reason I ask is because at the time of the discussion, not only would it would have moved some of those classes, freeing up that space, which might be the training space that we would need today. The argument, as I understood at the time, was that it was also make that space more rentable because you would have bigger one, you'd have a dance floor for weddings and bands and whatever. And I guess my question is that $500,000 better spent at the rec center where you have built-in parking and other kinds of things? Because one of the things is we're adding 19 spaces and meeting room for 80 people. I don't think the neighbors are going to be happy about that. That's not the reason not to do it. I'm not the parking police here. But I just, on balance of those two things, I would make an argument that it might be more beneficial for us to try and expand at the rec center, but
Certainly,
I could be wrong.
certainly
I've been known to
something-
be wrong on
No,
more than
it's-
one occasion.
It's a great suggestion to
Yeah.
definitely look into. I would also assert that at some point in time, parking at the rec center is at its maximum. So the space there, the footprints at the rec center for the conference rooms, but do we really have parking space? I think that is questionable. But we can certainly look into it. It's not a bad suggestion. In terms of mission creep, when we first started this, looking at public works was really about just opening that customer service kind of window, and it was exorbitantly expensive. It was crazy just for doing that window. But things have changed because since then we've really talked about how do we improve residents' experience, because right now we send people back and forth from public works to here, whether they're trying to get a permit, excavation. Allowing that space there would also improve that. And it's hard to put a cost on that, but as we talked about that, but we could skinny the budget down certainly and not have the conference room space as a consideration. I do feel strongly that council consider at least the staff meeting room, or not staff, the small staff meeting room, and staff offices. The fact that we have multiple people officed in one place, not that a couple people can't share, but we've got upwards of 5, 6, 7 in some of those office spaces, and it's not conducive. I appreciate what you said about morale and the workspace, and even though most of them are field staff, they don't have a computer they can come in and log in other than in the staff break room, and that's not conducive as well. So anyway, I would hope that at least we could keep a smaller footprint on the table.
Yeah, just a couple more questions. So we talked about one of the uses for the bigger conference room would be all staff meetings, all staff trainings and so forth. How many times a year do we tend to have those kinds of things?
That's a great question. We haven't had as many because we're having to rent the space. So even department wise, it could be very advantageous. I can get you a count. I think.
Well, I'm curious because, it's
Yeah.
the balance, right? Maybe we do have to rent the space and that's cheaper over the next however many years, depending on how many meetings we have relative to building our own. I mean, we like to own it, absolutely. And if we could generate revenue from it, I get it. But if we're doing this, 10 times a year and we're paying $500 for the space, those are totally made up numbers. I'd like to sort of figure out in the long
That's a great
term
question.
whether this is really the investment we want to make. Sorry, David.
Oh, no, you're good. So I really appreciate this presentation, Scott. And most of all, I appreciate that you provided us with the ability to fund this at a reasonable ability. So thank you for that. I'm going to say this not necessarily to throw a wrench in things, but I think it might throw a wrench in things. One thing that we've talked about is this building and whether this building has run its life course and how we can modernize this building, make it better. I wonder if we could do this as a package and then go out for a bond, because I definitely see and appreciate the need for some of these things at this, but it seems like we are effectively creating 2 city halls. And I would rather just have it be a service station and everything be conducted out of this building, wherever it be located. I was wondering, have we thought about that? I have no idea what it would cost to modernize this building and add more space, more meeting spaces, more customer service spaces. But is that an option that we could look at collectively with maybe a downsized version of this, which would only permit for more parking, office space, and meeting spaces there?
Yes. We've talked a lot internally in our budget meetings for the last couple of years, and we've talked about it loosely with council as well. But this building, unfortunately, probably has ran its course, and modernizing it would be much more expensive. Absolutely. But we currently have an RFP out to look at some of those things. And so tell us what needs to be modernized, safety, security type issues. So we'll be coming back to council soon with some numbers that nobody's going to like.
Yeah.
They're going to be extremely high.
But it's necessary.
Absolutely.
I mean, this building was built in the 1950s and without any additions other than maybe the firehouse. And that also, we keep on just putting Band-Aids on the firehouse too. So, I mean, I frankly think the next major thing that Webster Groves might need to do is build a new city hall. And I think we could do that collectively with this. Now, I know that if we're going to deconstruct this building, where are we going to put everyone is a whole nother issue too. So I can only imagine the costs that are going to be associated with that. But I think for a municipality of our size, I think a new city hall might be needed.
You're just going for the biggest table.
And then he's gonna leave.
I know you're talking about millions, tens of millions to fix this building versus 1.5 to fix something, and we get a lot of utilization out of this. It's very functional and it's needed. So I'm not sure that this is a like comparison.
I agree that it's not a like comparison, and I'm not trying to make a like comparison. What I'm trying to do is look at this holistically. And rather than putting Band-Aids on issues that we currently have, which is lack of office space, lack of meeting space, and a lack of parking over at the service center, and also a place for our residents to get done what they need to get done. In my mind, I think it's naive to think that office space in that part of Webster Groves is going to be utilized effectively. I think that's a lot of travel between this building and that building. I would rather see our workers except for those that are truly parks and public works housed here and those housed there.
That project's not a Band-Aid though.
This,
Right.
I disagree. I mean, I respect your opinion, but I do think that this is a Band-Aid for, I agree that we need office space and meeting space, but if you have meeting space here, do you need meeting space over there? That is much meeting space. So to me, it is a little bit of a Band-Aid right now, which is saying we need meeting space over there because we lack meeting space here.
The understanding I have is that we lack big enough meeting space.
Yeah.
And which is not here or anywhere.
But if we constructed a new modern city hall, we could easily include the meeting space necessary without having to put meeting space over there.
All right, I am going to assert my authority as chair of this meeting and ask you to review the alternatives you have up there for us, Scott, so we can give some guidance.
Thank you. So 1.5 million is my staff recommendation. There are some alternatives. First one being you could scale the project down. If 1.5 million is not palatable, we could look at dropping the meeting room space. We could drop the meeting room space and the office space and just go with the customer service atrium. Let's just say all three of those are $500,000 each to make the numbers easy. So, if you wanted to take it down to 1 million and keep it inside of this year's budget, you could drop one of those things: meeting rooms, offices, guest services. I would not be the one that I would cut if you were cutting. I wouldn't cut any of it, but if you're cutting, that wouldn't be mine. The other option was if we just determine this project is not cost effective, it's not worth the return on investment, and we should just shelve it and move on with life and focus on other projects. That's certainly a question that needs to be asked, and then push it out into other fiscal years if we're not ready to do it now. We think it's a valid project, but we're not ready for it now. We can push. I would like to have some sort of leave from the table on which one of those four options we think is the best so that we can continue planning. We are bringing this master plan design is at the end of life. So we're ready to move on the next portion of that life if there is one.
All right, so let's take the alternatives in reverse order. I think it's going to be simpler that way. Is there anyone who thinks that this isn't worth moving on in some variety and wants to push it to future fiscal years? Okay, that one's out. Does it have a low return on investment? Not a priority. We want to postpone it indefinitely.
I don't want to postpone it indefinitely, but I do want to know what that last clause, lack of equity in community rental space. What does that lack of equity mean?
That's having another rentable space on a different area of town. Right now, the only place you can rent is at the rec center, which is on the south side of town. So if we built this and we have another rentable space over there, that opens up some more space for different populations, different areas of town.
I see what you're saying, but okay.
All right, so we're left then to whether or not we want to scale the project down or proceed based on the staff recommendation.
I'm just not prepared to fund it at 1.5, 1.6. Based on the funding that's outlined there. If we had a better picture of how our reserves were planned, it would be easier for me to say, let's just do it. We don't have that yet. So that's my hesitation, is just a piece of this will probably need to come from reserves. For myself, I need the whole picture of reserves before I'm okay with that. And the 250 from special initiatives, I think we need to revisit that and see what's going on with that before we commit that to another project. So it's on the funding side of things for me that I'm more concerned. I get it in theory. I understand the need. This presentation definitely helped me understand that need a little bit more. I'm a little concerned about utilizing, kind of like David said, like that as a second city hall. I mean, a lot of staff work here and they're going to be going there for all staff meetings. There should be a room here. A lot of staff also work there.
I don't want to interrupt you, but those staff come here every single day.
Yes. So it's
every day.
Yes. And so probably both, but so that's kind of where I am as on the funding.
So, we're going to have to give some direction here. So think I could surmise. Karen, do you have a preference at this point?
Well, Scott was pretty clear that there were more concrete numbers and things that he needed to do to determine, what's what. Right? Am I misstating?
Correct. And this won't be your final funding.
Right.
If you all said, yes, let's move forward, we still got to go design it and bid it and then come back with, this is the actual cost. And we could still pull the trigger or not pull the trigger at that time frame. The next phase would probably be, I'm just going to throw a number, 200,000 for design construction document phase would be the next phase, which we have in the 495,000 in this year's CIP that we could already allocate and keep pushing this project forward. But we wouldn't want to spend that money if we're not in for the all or some portion of it. We want to know what we need to design. Did that answer your question? Or did I bring a whole new thing out?
Well, it kind of did answer the question, because it's hard to make that decision on a really abstract number. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I can see a justification for everything that you've laid down there, and but as well as being sure about that last 450. But I like the idea of trying to get more concrete numbers in terms of what's needed and where the money's coming from. I'm definitely not a kick it down the road. I mean, we can see the need for this stuff.
Good. Jamie?
Yeah, I'm in favor of the scope that's laid out here, and I think that last $500,000 piece, special initiatives in the fund balance. When are we having that, conversation
Which
about
conversation?
the reserves?
It's all part of the budget schedule.
Okay.
So unfortunately, it won't come till April.
Okay.
That conversation.
Okay.
It doesn't line up with this.
Okay. Yeah, I'm more curious than reluctant to move forward. This is really winning position.
Yeah, so far we've gotten definitive answers.
I like that. I'm more curious than reluctant. I'll take it. I like it.
I mean, I think this is a practical thing that needs to be done. I also think about the garage that is deteriorating, that's about the same dollar amount. So I think I would want to see a little more holistically what needs to be fixed and where the money comes from, rather than just this single thing. But otherwise, I'm supportive of it. Is that clear as mud?
I'm gonna split this into two. I'm fully in favor of the Operation Fleet and Bay enclosure. I think that makes complete sense. We have the money to do it. I think we should go forward with that. In regards to the rest of it, I would like to scale it down to just the customer service, office space, and a small meeting room that is compatible with the number of employees that work there, and not a rental space. I like the funding structure. I would like to use that money that's up there. I don't have any questions on the funding. The only other question I had was more logistics. Why are residents going there to apply for a permit and then coming? I get payment here, but why are they going there?
Depends on what permits they're going for. So Public Works is in charge of excavation permits, whether that be in the streets for Missouri American Water or whoever. They also do the block permits. If a neighborhood wants to have a block party, they take care of the block party because they're the ones that are bringing out all those barricades and stuff like that. So just division of duties. They do some of the permits. Some of the permits happen here at the front desk or at the planing window.
Do all the permits go into Magnet?
They do.
Can all those permits now be done online if they want to, or they have to still be in person?
No. You can pay online once you get the permit. We can send you the email that says you go pay.
So they're only going to one building and then they're going home to pay potentially.
They can,
But the vision is eventually to have all of these online,
It's definitely the vision.
which means,
Less need for the customer service.
well, I think there's always going to be a need for customer service, public works.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in all of our buildings, there has to be. But it also makes, me wonder a little bit about, is this about are you worried about customer service and one-stop shopping? Well, eventually your one-stop shopping is going to be your living room, hopefully.
And that is our vision. That is the strategic plan. It is not soon.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't want to lead anybody astray.
Before Public Works moved over there, was all the permitting done here? Did some of that, or was it always split?
It was always here, wasn't it? I mean, at least when I was first on council, it was.
I'll say mostly here. I think some of the block party permits.
We're already over there.
Yeah.
It
but
would be
mostly-
nice for somebody to go to either location and get all the stuff done.
So are we gonna have to staff that window?
It's already staffed.
It's
already
already
staffed.
staffed.
Pretty
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up because we've already gone way over time and Scott has another presentation. Or does somebody else have the second?
Somebody else does.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Well, no,
really
I'd like to
quick?
actually state my opinion too, if you don't mind.
I'm there.
I'm actually with David. I absolutely agree with the Bay. I agree with the staff office needs and the small conference room needs. I haven't bought into the big conference room at this point. So I guess what that tells me, because some of the numbers I think are probably dependent on the conference room. Is there a way to do this with sort of the core that we've talked about, and then what would be the add-on cost with the conference room alone? Does that make sense to other
Like we
people?
have already for the fleet base.
Yeah.
But flip it and
Yeah.
have that added cost be for the conference room.
Does that, okay, is this,
Yes.
I mean, it's muddy water, but is at least,
Water?
It can be filtered, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I like it. We'll move forward with the understanding that the meeting room space needs to be an ad alternate. So we have separate pricing on it outside of the customer service window and the offices
We still need to figure out.
and finalize funding. Yes.
Okay. All right, great.
Thank you.
James, are you gonna go as fast as you possibly can? You really don't have to. This is very important, so I don't wanna, thank you very much, Scott. I appreciate it greatly. All right, our next topic is the master plan update for Ivory Crockett Park. Scott is our director of Parks and Recreation. I will be the director of public, James, sorry. I'm looking right through you. Sorry, James. And I almost made you public works director in saying that, so.
That would not be good.
James from Parks and Recreation. Sorry about that.
Not a problem. Thank you very much. I want to do a quick brief. I know we're running short on time. Jonathan here is from Planning and Design Studio, who we've hired and partnered with to implement and design this Ivory Crockett Parks Master Plan. We started in September, hosted our first public house or open house, held a second one in November, and then held a total of 4 weeks of open surveys, which we got around 150 responses, which I was very pleased with for this size of a project. So I'm going to turn it over to Jonathan. He's going to run through some PowerPoint presentations, and we'll take some questions.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Let's see. So, yeah, James already kind of basically went through the overall what we've done, but we'll also really briefly do about this. What's the community input for this project? And then we'll jump right into the master plan. Luckily on this project, it was public was very favored one particular thing. So
It's really nice.
not every project can do that. Yes. But yeah, basically, I think James already did talk about the project. We came out with 3 options initially and sent that to the public, and then came back, and then we started going into more detail, and then they all agreed with that. So many of you already know this park really well. One thing important to point out is that the oldest playgrounds are the ones right next to the restroom. They're like 23 years old or so. And then the newer ones are a bit further north for that. And so that actually nicely lines up with what the public went along with. So the first round we went out with was related to basically the location of where we want the splash pad and the restroom, basically where that's going in the park. And when we get into the master plan, I can tell you where that's at on here, but they really wanted 65% people said they wanted it right next to the restroom, which is great because that's also where it can share utilities. You don't have to build a separate pump house for that. It can all be together in that structure. And the second round was more the configuration of the actual elements of like, where does the splash pad go in relation to the restroom and how those, so we tested those out, and 73% were over B, and this is what's, I'm going to show you in the master plan what that actually is. And we had two public meetings. One was at the community center, the first one. And then the second one we held actually at the park, which is a great and good location for that. And the green, we had the maps up on the board, and there were green dots that people voted on. And it was also very heavily aligned with the community surveys for this as well, which we liked. So the master plan, basically everything takes place right where the current restroom is and the oldest playground. So that's all that's really should be affected for this project, besides getting contractors in and out. So the layout that the public wanted, and generally what's going to be happening is that we're going to be moving the restroom from its current location, which is about where B is here, to the I guess this is rotated, but it's basically where the playground is at is where the restroom is going to be moving. And then the splash pad is going roughly where the restroom is at. The main purpose for this is that currently there's a big sightline issue where if anyone's in the back playground and they're basically fully blocked by the restroom, and if you want to send your kids to the restroom, they got to go around the building, and so now they're out of sight. By moving this out, it's great because now you can see them, like everyone can see from the road where that is. When your kids are playing here, they can go to the restroom, come back out, and you can always see people, which is great. There's not hidden areas anymore.
They can also, I'll chime in, they can also,
Yeah.
where the splash pad's located, it opens up kind of the entire area of that park. They can be playing basketball in the splash pad. Over on the existing playground, that large brown area right there, there's a playground located there. There's a lot of tree shaded area right in there. So as a parent, you could sit where B is in the shaded, in the shade structure that's going to be there, and watch your kids kind of roam a good majority of the park in a safe environment.
Yeah. And it also gives a shaded area for people who are playing basketball to sit here, and now they have shade, which is something that's not offered currently.
What will be the distance between the splash pad and the basketball court?
It's roughly the same with this current path.
The only reason I ask is because do we run the risk of causing water onto the basketball court while they're playing if the splash pad is also in use?
Not really, because basically there's the water, the splash zone usually only goes at most like 5 feet out from it. And so it's really hard. Also, all of these features are in-ground sprays that shoot up. We don't have any above ground structure like that for that.
We don't have a big bucket that's going to dump every 30 seconds. And
Yeah. That also reduces, I guess, maintenance and vandalism and stuff, because there's nothing for people for that to wear out. Yeah.
Where go back where the letter C is on the basketball court, there's the bench there. Will there be a fence separating the basketball court there, or is that open?
No, right now it's open. Actually, there's only like a tiny little strip of fence that's right on the edge currently, and we're not really touching that.
Okay.
For that, so it would be open for that. And then there's this other little potential like seat walls or little benches that you can scatter around.
The shade is nice. I know that's a frequent community request, is more shade in our parks.
Yes. And so these are example images of roughly what they look like. We showed a bunch of different options at the public meetings. And overwhelmingly at both public meetings, they really wanted like roughly this style of comfort station where we kind of have more natural materials that are very resilient on the front. A shade structure. The first one, we showed a bunch of little more kind of iconic looking ones, but didn't really provide as much shade. But the people really wanted a very functional shade structure that gives solid shade. So that's what we went with for this style. And then the splash pad, this is just an example of ground mounted sprays that come on. And what's good is, I guess, during winter when that's off, that's now an open plaza space that can be used for other functions. So it's not, it's a multi-use space.
I was gonna say and that's a key point as well, because we can use it throughout the year for concerts that we might hold or different plays, theater performances, anything like that. We could use that area for multiple purposes other than just a splash pad.
Mhm.
Are there any lights at Ivy Crockett at all? I can't remember. So this would be essentially the park is dawn to dusk. Are those the hours of the park
Yes.
now? The splash pad would
That's
be the
all.
same?
Yeah.
And one feature about the restroom is at the moment, we were planning for 4 unisex restrooms instead of 2, like, men and women's, which have multiple stalls in them. That's kind of the preference between discussions with the city and us. And I think in this area, unlike say other places, you tend to have more families that need changing and such, and so that might be a better option by doing the unisex restrooms. An exact quantity might come down to final budget, but we were thinking 4, and that's what we planned at the moment.
And adding that with a splash pad, you're gonna, change your kids or go dry them off, and just to have a little larger area to accommodate that. And we anticipate this gonna be a popular spot. So there could, potentially be a lot of kids, a lot of families coming to that splash pad. So
And then finally, the fun part, the cost estimates, which we ran through. At the moment, this does contain a 15% contingency for everything in there, along with general conditions, mobilizations, and bonding, which is another 14% on top of the main. So that's what these numbers represent. Let's see, I guess utilities, we don't have to move very far from the existing one. But at the moment, because those are still like lump sum figures of what we think for both sanitary and connections. We see the restroom is currently about $452. This is a stick-built structure, so we have an architect and then we designed that. This is a lot cheaper than prefab, which prefab we were from like Romtech and a couple others coming up to like 600, 700, 800,000. And I was like, it's like buy a bunch of houses over there and just use those.
Right.
I don't know why it's so expensive, but so yeah, building this custom on site will be cheaper than a prefab.
And some of these, I was going to mention the shade structures. We do have shade structures that were at the aquatic center that are being stored down at the service center right now that we could use, and that would eliminate potentially that $168,000 dollar amount there.
Yeah. And then I think the splash pad, that was a much more solid number, I think. I mean, it still has contingency built into that potentially would come down somewhat, but this is a recirculation system. And so half the cost is recirculation compared to a waste system where you're just dumping it out. The waste system also requires a lot bigger utilities, so you have to have a lot more sanitary and than even what we have here. So that's the questions for that. So
Anyone have questions?
I just quickly wanted to know about the splash pad at night. When does it close? Is it going to be illuminated at night somehow? That was just.
The construction that we're going to do, like Jonathan was saying, it's going to be in ground. So when it's off, it's off. When it's powered down, it's powered down. A lot of them have, they're embedded in the concrete, but dripping hazards, things like that doesn't. It's protected by that. So yeah, when it's off, it's off.
And there's no lighting in the splash pad, I'm assuming.
No,
Okay.
there's not.
Oh, yeah, because sometimes they
They
light up the
recess.
jets or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
At City Park.
I was wondering about I remember when City Garden first opened, they had security personnel there. Maybe not a lifeguard per se, but do we envision anything like that for this?
No, it's not required by the county to have a lifeguard at splash pads.
because there's no like depth of water
Right.
that's there.
And art.
I assume that we'll probably have to have more frequent restroom cleaning visits
Yes.
kind of thing if we expect increased usage.
Yes.
Probably 2 or 3 times a day, someone's gonna have to go check water chems too.
Yeah.
Even though, you don't have a lifeguard there, you still have to test the water quality to make sure, since you are recirculating it, you have to make sure the chemicals are running so that everything's clean and sanitary.
Can we
And
do
at
that
that time,
with
they-
existing staff?
Yeah, we do. We've already kind of discussed that briefly. But that is something that staff are out and about throughout the day, and it's not a thing of, it's not an cumbersome task to check it. So it'd be a brief stop by to check it, check a couple trash cans, check the restrooms.
I like the planting area too, that's nice.
What is this, how does this number look in comparison to what we estimated or budgeted in Prop W?
Great question. I'm glad you asked. As my daughter would say, I'm expensive, but I'm worth it. So Prop W, we originally had 675,000 planned out of Prop W funds, plus 525,000 meeting park grant that was slated to go towards this project. So 1.2 million is what we originally had. 1.6. Obviously, with moving, originally when we were looking at this before the Prop W went out, we hadn't looked at moving the restrooms. So the additional cost to relocate those brings that price up a little bit. The shade structure is a little bit bigger than we were looking at originally. So we can do some things differently if we wanted to get back down to that 1.2 range. But again, those Prop Ws were estimates before we went out to the public and got that public input to determine what we want. So, this is a master plan. We can shape things. We could add things if you all think we need more. If you think we need less, but that's where the numbers were. 1.2.
So basically then we would have to take this from something else, that additional four from something else in this Prop W.
Do we have that? Do we have Swish already that we can pull it from or not?
That's which one?
Yes.
Was it, we were, or,
Ice cream went big and then it came back, so.
and I was gonna say with the Memorial Park master plan, I was talking with Jonathan and staff last week for the performance park. That's estimated ballparking. We budget 2.5 million for that. That's ballpark to come in around 2 million or a little less. So that is, 500,000 there that we could push over to this project as well.
At this point, we're not taking away from any other projects. They were staged out, so I think that's important for people to hear. We're at this point haven't taken anything away.
And we can still make room for this cost
We can.
without taking away from other projects.
We can. Now, there may be some later that is phased in through Unique Court grant that was not received this year, but we still have opportunities to offset some of those costs. We were a little surprised that community, those that participated, went for the biggest.
They were
Maybe I
hot
should
this
be
summer.
surprised. It was.
They're
Good job,
good, but they're worth it.
Well, they are worth it. This isn't something you would do bigger later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And moving the restroom makes sense in terms of families and sidelines and use of the park overall. I
100%.
mean, yes, Scott, you're worth.
We would have been investing this cost at some time in those restrooms anyway.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
They were kind of on the.
Okay, does anyone have any other questions? Anything you need from us? At this point, this is more of an update, right? And
Correct.
it looks great and you won't see me in the splash pad. Who knows? Maybe you'll see there. All right, we do need to make some appointments to boards and commission. John Visor, interview for Green Space. Would we like to appoint him? Yes. All right, and then may we appoint Ryan Elliott to Old Orchard?
Yes.
Okay, we are gonna move on and, okay, so it's 7:55. We're gonna start at 8 o'clock. Welcome to our January 20th meeting of the Webster Grove City Council. We welcome the views of those of you who are in attendance. If you'd like to make a public comment or a community comment, please fill out a card like this. If you're in this room, it's over by the door. If you are on the Zoom option of our meeting. When we get to that point, please use the raise your hand function and we will allow you to speak. And please make sure when you do make your comment that you give us your name and your address. All right, we will begin with the call of the roll.
Yes, Mayor. Mayor Arnold,
Here.
Councilmember Bliss.
Yes.
Councilmember Franklin.
Here.
Councilmember Smith is absent. Councilmember Alexander.
Here.
Councilmember Hickson Shepherd.
Here.
Councilmember Hasselmeyer.
Here.
All right. We will begin with the remarks from community and visitors. I have one speaker card, and not only did he bring us speaker cards, I'm going to guess he's the one who's responsible for these cool things we have at our desk. So, Mr. Dave Buck, please come forward.
That's good. That's good. Dave Buck, Colonial over. Dave Buck, Colonial Village Apartments. First of all, I just want to say kudos, Jamie, to Ruby and John coming for Sunday. I really appreciate it very much. And I want to also say that I miss Brett as my friend. No offense, Gary. I know Gary's doing a really good job, but I miss Brett. What I want to do today, this is just an FYI, because this is an independent resident initiative, has nothing to do with the city, no city funds, no city support. It's all by us residents. I think some of you know that we applied and we received the recognition, Webster Groves, as an international city of peace. We are one of 500 cities in 75 countries, 6 continents around the world that have been designated as cities of peace, and we are united in preserving and pushing peace in the world today. One of the things I wanted to share today is a new symbol that we created. In 1958, this symbol was created. It was created by an Englishman, Gerald Holtham, to protest a rally for nuclear disarmament. This was in England. For some reason, this symbol, the peace sign, came over to the United States. And when I was a teenager in the 60s, this was a symbol for the anti-war movement in Vietnam, et cetera, et cetera. This is 68 years old. When we got together to dedicate ourselves to the International Cities of Peace in Webster Groves, we said, let's evolve this symbol into something new. It's akin to taking the water park or the aquatic center and elevating it and evolving it and recreating it as a water park. So instead of this, we did this. And the real insight was, this isn't just a visual symbol, it's a compass. And where the compass came from is right here in my hat. After my sophomore year in high school, I went to the Colorado Outward Bound School. Their symbol has been a compass from day one. So we borrowed it. And this is the World Peace Compass. It's got a lot of visual elements in it and colors. But more importantly, it has guiding principles along the outside: character, courage, creativity, community, and unity in diversity.
Time.
Okay. This is a sticker, so you can put it on your window and stuff.
And just so everyone knows, we also have a keychain. So thank you very much, Dave. Oh, yes. And for those of you who are in the audience, if you'd like your own sticker, there's some, Dave has very graciously left some on the table by the door there for us. Okay, does anyone have any new business? Council members,
Yes, Madam Mayor.
please go ahead.
May I
Member
please?
Hasselmeyer.
Thank you. I just want to acknowledge, since our last meeting, I made some comments about the anniversary of January 6th, and today is the 1-year anniversary of the inauguration of this president. It feels like it's been 10 years. Everyone I've talked to is just outraged at the violence that this administration continues to foster. I want to acknowledge Renee Nicole Good, and just the chaos and the madness at the national level, talking about invading Greenland, the tariffs, just the economic uncertainty. It really is impacting our community, and I'm just watching really closely in Minneapolis and fearful of what could be, next for our communities and how do we protect our neighbors and our friends. To follow Dave's message of peace, I just want to speak for the Webster residents who are scared and who don't agree with this administration and these tactics. And I want to commit myself as their council person to continue to work for peace and safety and security. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other council member? Thank you, Councilmember Hassmeyer. As many of you know, I have a daughter who lives in Minneapolis, St. Paul area, and actually, as we speak, is doing some training in community organizations. And I know that this community, Webster Groves, is full of people who work together to promote community. So I appreciate you thinking about those who are doing the same thing, especially in the Twin Cities and other places across the country. All right, any other new business? Mr. Donovan, Director of Finance, you are here to discuss our audit findings.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. What do you need? Fantastic. Thank you, Karen. Our audit has been completed, and so I just wanted to give you some of the highlights. All of you at the dais have a full copy of the ACFR, which is the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. Every year, as the name implies, annual audit, we use Sickage CPA LLC. They have two tasks. So they audit our financials and they prepare the annual comprehensive financial report. This is a 21-year, possibly more, relationship, formerly with Hochschild, Bloom and Company. And last year, they were awarded through the standard request for proposals, 3-year contracts to continue to do our audit work. What is the annual audit? One, it's independent. So they have to establish certain boundaries between us and them. It's a financial attestation / audit, and they apply generally accepted auditing standards as well as generally accepted accounting principles, which are used across the country. And the primary thing that they do, besides look at all of the different work papers and things that we provide them, is apply and test particularly our internal controls. Now, they'll pick a swath of receipts or payments, or in this case, if there are budget changes that were made during the year, looking for council resolutions and things like that to make sure that we have followed our own laws, our code, as well as our policies. What it is not, it's not forensic. And I know some people, when they think audit means every single transaction is being reviewed, that would be a forensic audit. This is not a forensic audit. So they test in swaths and we don't know what they're going to pick ahead of time. So they just give that to us and say, we want X, Y, and Z from this amount of time. And we provide that to them and they audit that and then apply our internal controls against it to make sure that they were followed. Results and highlights. I think it's very important. And this is my 4th audit for the city of Webster Groves. And for the fourth year in a row, no material weaknesses. I am sure that that goes back before me. I just don't have that information off the top of my head. I specifically asked them because of the press and community concern to review every single P card transaction for the entire fiscal year. So that was.
Will you say, what is a P card?
I am sorry. Yes, a purchasing card. So it is an equivalent of a credit card for the city. It just functions a little differently. So it is a P card. So purchasing card, and we had $667,000 worth of transactions over the course of the year. There were 3,648 transactions. So they looked at every single one. They only found 6 that may pose reputational risk to the city. And they found $1,300 that were used on personal items. It involved 2 employees. All of the money for the personal items were reimbursed. Disciplinary action was taken with regards to both of those individuals. And I want to emphasize that the internal controls worked. So when they were identified, they were addressed. So brief context is that all runs through our bank, and they don't provide daily transaction reports. I don't have the staff to review transactions on a daily basis as P cards. So we review them on a monthly basis when they are turned in with the receipts, and they're reviewed at that time. So their recommendation for improvement as it relates to the P cards is just continuing to ensure timeliness of that reporting and recording into the transactions into the system so that we can, again, facilitate our accounting practices, but also support those internal controls. Timeliness is important. So if they're delayed, then we don't know about them for a certain amount of time, and the problem could grow or persist.
Gregory, I just had a quick question. When we
Yes.
talk about that the monies were reimbursed and action was taken, that all happened prior to the audit, correct? Like it was
Yes,
self-identified
correct.
prior
So-
to the audit.
Yes, so our internal controls, all of that occurred last fall. So the fall of, I'm sorry, not this previous fall of 25. These were activities in the fall of 2024. So
Thanks.
welcome. I should reminded our audience or residents that our fiscal year runs from July 1st through June 30th. And so this audit for fiscal year 2025 was all activity from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th of 2025. So that everybody understands what we're focused on. So this is an all funds statement here. Our net position as a city is 76.6 million. That's everything. So if you liquidated the entire city and all of its holdings tomorrow, include all the buildings and everything else, that would be the approximate position of the city, and you pay off all the liabilities. So 3.6 million increase. We had all funds revenue of 31.6 million against expenses of 27.7 million. So a $3.9 million surplus across the funds. We have to remember what that includes: Prop W, capital fund, stormwater improvement, those sorts of things, that where those funds don't always necessarily get spent or expended. Across the board, fund balance is at 38 million. The one, however, that catches everybody's attention that we focus on is our general operating fund, which is our mostly unrestricted income. We had another year of a surplus. We had 22.7 million in revenues against 20.8 million in expenses. So approximately 1.9 million, you can round it up to 2 if you wanted. What's important to note though, 500,000 of that surplus came from one building permit, and that was for the KVC. And then another 815,000 from investment income. So that's the interest that we earn on our CDs, bonds that we buy through our various banks, and we'll talk about that. You'll have to put up with me again in a few weeks when I do the quarterly report. As we know, interest rates are going down, so that interest income is going to decline. So our ending fund balance in the general fund, 20.2 million. The unrestricted portion of that is 18.2, which means a spendable fund balance or reserve of 11.8 million, according to our fund balance policy, which means that we can spend 65%. We only need to have 35% on hand based on a $24 million a year budget in the general fund. So, Madam Mayor, that's where my calculation came from last night.
You had the extra numbers that I didn't. Thank you. And by the way, I wanted to apologize because I should have given you the opportunity to say that during the meeting. So I apologize for that. That was not polite of me at all.
Accepted. And that's also why I wanted to include it for
Yeah,
reference
thank
point
you.
for everybody. So when we talk about reserve spending, that's what we're talking about right now, that we have available based on the close of last fiscal year. Just things to bear in mind. It's hard to get your mind around for people who are not used to these sorts of things. Fund accounting is not corporate accounting. We don't account for money the same way a corporation does. It's also not checkbook accounting. So checkbook accounting, which is your personal, it functions differently. You have dedicated revenue streams provided that are restricted for use. The 2025 we adopted a deficit budget of 400,000. We still ended up with a $2 million surplus. Cash and investments on hand right now, or at the end of the fiscal year, was 41 million. Some of that money is prop W, so it's, again, keep reminding everybody that. The ACFR will be available on our website tomorrow, and print copies, if anyone wants to look at the print version, will be available in the city clerk's office and also at the Webster Groves Library, as is our practice. And that is it. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions?
This one?
So when you say we adopted 2025 adopted a deficit budget of 400,000 and we ended up with a surplus of
2 million.
of 2 million. So when we've been having the conversation, would that be the same conversation we've been having, but we adopted a deficit of, what is it, 1.2?
1.1 this year.
1.1 this year, and then we will find out at the end of the year exactly what it
Correct.
is, whether we actually realize that deficit or not. But that's where we adopted that
Correct.
as we went through the year, and we will see where we end up with. That's not saying we had that deficit. So we did the same thing here. We adopted 400 deficit, but we ended up with a 2 million surplus.
Right. Budget is permission to spend in one sense, and it's a recognition as best we can in the revenue. I'm getting better on the revenue predictions, but they are difficult when it's dependent upon human behavior. So,
And I was just wanting to clarify
Absolutely.
that because we keep getting the question that's saying that
Sure.
we have a deficit, we're running a deficit. Why do we have this deficit? Whereas it is an adopted deficit where we're trying to budget because we don't really know what our revenue is going to be.
You're correct, Councilwoman. We have not run a deficit as a city since fiscal year 2022, which is before we fully accounted for the money from the federal government for the ARPA. So that was, and before that, last one I believe was 2017.
Thanks.
So you're welcome.
I do want to extend a special thank you because I know you did ask the auditors to dig deeper on the credit card transaction, and I appreciate that in terms of being transparent about what happened in the city, and that helps us all take responsibility for implementing the policies that were there. And so I want to thank you and the city manager for that little extra step, because I know it makes me feel better about what we're doing and how we're doing it. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Mayor. Wanted to thank Mr. Donovan and his entire finance team. While they are not performing the audit, they do so much work in preparation for the audit, and it's important for people to know. And the auditors surprise them every single day. Today, we would like this batch of things. Today, we'd like this batch of things, and they have to prepare it. And so audit time around here really does take their entire time, lots of late nights. Greatly appreciate it. And Mayor, as you said, taking the extra step to ask for all of the credit card receipts, purchase receipts, it was really important to do. And that was his suggestion. And so thank you for that and taking that extra step. And while we had those two things, and I don't want to sell those short because they're important, but it really is important to continue to say that our internal controls caught it. Thank you, Councilman Hickson Shepherd. Before it became a bigger issue, it was reimbursed. And again, 2 employees out of 150. We have great staff. And the majority of our staff, almost 99% of them, use the purchase cards responsibly. And so I think that speaks really highly of our workforce, as well as not just the internal controls, but the policies that we set out before we give staff a purchase card. So I'm really proud of the work that's being done, and that is definitely largely due to Mr. Donovan and his team.
You must be very good to work with, because I know accounting firms are not short of business, or for at least the ones that do governmental entities. And so somehow you get them to keep coming back. So thank you for that.
We have a very good working relationship.
Good. All right. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And just a reminder, if anyone's going to review this meeting, that the financial reports and the annual comprehensive financial report is available here at City Hall, as well as the library and online. Okay. Let's go to Councilmember Hassemeyer to call for the first and second reading of Bill number 9297, please.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to call for the first and second reading of Bill number 9297.
Second.
Bill number 9297, an ordinance amending Chapter 60, the Traffic Code, Article 16, Section 6965, Schedule F of the Code of Webster Groves, miscellaneous stops to authorize the installation of stop signs on Willis Avenue at Holland Avenue.
Is there any discussion?
I was wondering if we could just walk through the intersection, like, really fast. Is that the discussion we're looking for?
Walk through the intersection?
Well, just when you look at the map, there's stop signs 2 places, but not other places. I was just curious what the traffic flow was.
Is there anyone who wants to discuss that? Willis doesn't intersect. Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So there are no stops on Holland, just on Willis where it comes in.
No stop sign on Holland. So Holland and Willis intersect like this. And then Holland goes on around the corner. There's a stop sign around the corner. There's not a stop sign at Willis at the top of that hill or at Holland. And when you come up Willis, you cannot see what's coming over that hill.
So we're adding 2 stop signs at that kind of jog intersection, right? And do you think that'll help the sightlines, Karen?
Well, I'm trying to, let's see, I'm sorry. I didn't see exactly where we were putting the stop.
That's like,
It is at that corner.
there's 2, there's one at each corner.
I think the idea is that when you come up the hill on Willis, the stop sign is to make you stop and take a look to your left to give more time for the sight line as that people come up the hill. If you're going east on Willis, it's like one curve around to Holland, and people come screaming around that curve and you can't see very far around the curve. So the stop sign again slows people down, so they have to look at the oncoming traffic.
Okay, and that makes sense why it's just kind of like one direction.
From the south going north, there's no stop sign right now. So that's just flying through there.
And
They
I think
can't
there's
see what's
still no
coming.
stop sign on
Yeah,
Holland.
there was, yeah.
Right,
That's
it. Will.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just on the Willis side. Okay.
That-
That's all. Yeah, I just needed
Okay.
to
No, that's okay.
figure it out in my head. Cause
Yeah, somebody needs to.
yeah.
All right, can we have the second reading then, please?
An ordinance amending Chapter 60, the Traffic Code, Article 16, Section 60.965, Schedule F of the Code of Webster Groves, miscellaneous stops to authorize the installation of stop signs on Willis Avenue at Holland Avenue.
All right, is there anything anyone would like to remove from the consent agenda? No, then Councilmember Alexander, could you call for the approval of the consent agenda, please?
Second.
Councilmember Bliss,
Yes.
Councilmember Franklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander, Councilmember Hickson Shepherd. Yes. Councilmember Hasselmeyer.
Yes.
Mayor Arnold.
Yes. Right, we've made two appointments to boards and commission. John Visor has been appointed to the Green Space Commission and Ryan Elliott to the Old Orchard Business District Advisory Commission. Who knows whether I got that right? It's close, close enough. And then I believe you have a motion, Councilmember Bliss.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to call for an executive closed session related to Missouri Statute 610.021 subsection 18.
Is there a second?
Second. Councilmember Franklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander. Councilmember Hickson Shepherd. Yes. Councilmember Hasselmeyer.
Yes.
Mayor Arnold.
Yes.
Councilmember Bliss.
Yes.
Right. I know. All right. Thank you all for joining us, and we will see you again soon, I'm sure.